In this video, we'll talk about GetRecordUI wire adapter, and this adapter we can import from Lightning UI Record API module. We use this wire adapter whenever we want to get layout information, metadata, and the data to build the UI for one or more records. So let's look at the syntax now. First, we have to import the wire from LWC module. Then we need to import the adapter GetRecordUI from the UI Record API module. Then we will pass the adapter to a wire service and we'll give some configuration to our wire adapter. Then in the configuration, we have to pass the record IDs. It can be a single record or multiple record. If you are passing the multiple record, it should be in the array format. You can pass the layout type. Layout type, you have to pass either a compact or a full. Then we have a mode. In the mode, we have to tell what kind of mode you want, whether the create mode, edit mode, or a view mode. And then we have a option field, and this in this we have to pass the field name or an array of field name. If a field is accessible to the user, it include in the response, otherwise it will not throw an error. So that's the syntax. And one more important thing to notice in this wire adapter, that you should not confuse with get record id with get record. So there is a difference. Get record gives you the information, only the data about the records. It not gives you the information about the layout and the metadata. But get record UI give you the information about layout information and the metadata. So that's a major difference between these two adapters. So let's go to the VS Code and see how we can use this adapter. So let's go and create the component. I'll give this name get record UI demo. So my component is created. Now I'll go with the same step. First I need to import the wire. Then we need to import the adapter that we're going to use, and in our case it's get record UI, and we have to import this from Lightning UI Record API. Now we have the adapter ready, so we have to pass this adapter to our wire service. So now we have to set the configuration here. We know the configuration that we want is the record IDs, and we know it can be a single record ID or an array of record ID. In this case, I am going to pass a single record ID, and I'm passing a reactive record ID. So get this record ID, we can use public property of record ID. And if you are using @API, you need to import the API as well. So once the page loads, you will get the record ID, and once the record ID is available, that record ID will be mapped here. We already know wire services are reactive in nature, so it will pass here. Apart from that, we need to pass the layout types, and in this case we can pass full layout. We need information about full layout type, and then we can pass modes, and I can say I need the information of edit mode. So the configuration is ready, and apart from this, what we can do is we'll create a wire as a function. So we'll say account called y handler. This is my function name. It will give me the data and the error, and we'll say if data comes, print the data, and we'll say if error, console.error, print the error. So the configuration and the code is ready. We are printing the data that we will get for get record UI adapter for this particular record ID. And in the HTML, we can quickly create the card, and we can say get record UI demo, and within this card we can quickly create a class div with class SLDS padding around medium. Here data will come, and let's go to the meta file change the target to a record page because we are expecting the record ID to come. So record ID will come only in the record page. So let's deploy this and see what it gives us. Now it's deployed. Let's go to our app. In the app, we'll go to the accounts. We'll select account record Dixon. You can choose anyone, and we'll say here, we'll select gear and we'll select edit page. And on the left hand side, we'll search get record UI demo and we'll place the right hand side top. And now it's placed. Let's save and let's go back. Now our card is visible here. Let's go to the console and see what data we are getting. So this is the get record UI demo data. It's an object. Now you see we are getting the record information, object information, layout user state. So all information you are getting in the layouts, you are getting the account. Then for account you are getting a record and it's in full layout, it's in edit mode, and all information, each section information like account information, address information. Now if I open a single section, you will see it is a 2-column layout. 8 rows are there. Within the eight rows, what all rows are there? First row is account owner and rating. Like that you can fetch each and everything, and the record information is coming. In the record we have the fields and different types of field and their information. Everything is there and you can use it based on your need. And if you look at the above object, that is the get record demo, in that you will get only the record information. You will not get the layout information, object information. You just get the record information. So let's go and use this information and display something on the page. So right now we are getting the data. What we're gonna do is we can pick up some data from the records. What we can pick up from the record, go to the record ID, and then we'll pick up from the fields. We can pick up account number, we can pick up annual revenue, and pick up name or phone. Let's start writing the code. So I'll say on the top form fields, and we'll create some fields that we want to pick up. So we'll say field name. Field name should be the API name. So if I go here, my field name should be account number. And on the screen, I want to show the label as account with space number. Likewise, I'll copy it 3 more times and we'll say I need annual revenue, I need name, I need phone, and here on the screen I want to show phone, I want to show name, I want to show annual revenue, and in annual revenue I need a space. So we have these form fields. Now here what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a value, whatever the value we are getting in the data. How we can do that? We'll go to the data. We'll say first we will run the loop on this. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say get dot fields form fields equal to this dot form fields, run the map on this, the item, each item is each object here. Okay, and what we're gonna do is we'll say return whatever it's inside the object as it is. It means the field name and the label should go as it is. And then what we can do is we'll say add the value property, and the value should be data. Data is this that we are getting, data dot records. If I go here and see, this is the data whole object, then we are going to the records, and in the records we have a record ID. So we can dynamically fetch the record ID using this dot record ID, because record ID we are getting here. Go to that record ID, under that go to fields and fetch the field name. Field name we already have set it here, so we can say item dot field name and dot value. So it will go to that record ID till here, then it will go to fields property. Inside this we have a field property. Inside the field property it will search the property that we want. So we want first time account number, it fetch the value and return along with other two property. Likewise it updates our form fields. Now let's go to the HTML and display this form field. So you can say template for each form fields for item, we call it as field. I'll close this template. I'll say field dot label, and I'll say p tag. I'll give the strong tag inside this, and I'll say field dot label, and so this I'll say field dot value, and the value I'll not give the strong tag, and just make sure our property name is correct. Form fields. And you might think why I haven't given the double quotes here. You can give or ignore. Key can be in the double quotes or without double quotes, fine. Let's in the quotes, and let's deploy and see are we able to show the data for these 4 fields from the data that we got from the get record UI. Our code is deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And now you can see that we able to show the data account number. That number we are fetching from the get record UI data, annual revenue, name, and the phone. And if you want to confirm is this the correct data, you can see the phone number is correct, the account name is correct, everything is correct. So that's how we use get record UI adapter, and based on your requirement you can play around with the data. You can see how you can use the layout structure, how you can use the object information and everything. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. In this video we'll talk about create record function, and this function we can import from Lightning UI Record API. So as the name suggests, this function is used to create a record, and the syntax is very simple. First you need to import the function from Lightning UI Record API, and then you have to call this function and pass the record input object, and this input object will be used to create the record. This object takes the object API name and the fields detail as an input, and this function returns a promise. So let's go to our VS Code and see how this works. So let's create the component. I'll say create record demo. So now the component has been created. Let's go and import the function, and I'll say import create a record from Lightning UI Record API. The function is ready. Now we'll go to the HTML, we'll design our form, and I'll say Lightning card. I'll say title, create card demo, and we'll create the form here. Before that, we'll add some padding. Yes, padding around. And here we'll create a form. Within this, we'll create a lightning input field. I'll say label first name. Then I'll take a name field and I'll give first name. And to the input field, I'll give a on change handler. I'll say on change on this input field, call a method change handler. And I can wrap this up. And after this, what I want is I can give some class that will be SLDS margin bottom small, extra small, and that's my first input field. Likewise, I'm gonna create 3-4 more fields, so I'll copy paste this. I'll create 2 3 4. I'll change this first name to last name. I'll change this name first name to last name. I'll keep the handler same. Then after that, I'll change it to title and change the name to title. Apart from that, we can label spelling is wrong here, so update that. Apart from this title, what else we can create here? We can say phone, and I'll change this name to phone, and I want the type when taking the phone is tel. If you will not define the type, by default it's a text field. So for our title, last name, first name, it will be a title, it's a text field. And we can add one more field and say email. So I'll say type email, label will be email, and the name will be. These are the fields, and at the end we can create the button. I'll create the button. I'll say label, create account, a variant. I'll give a brand, so it will give the blue color to my button. I'll say on click of this button, you should call create account. Let's create the contact actually. Say contact, create contact, contact, and lightning button. So now first we have to create this change handler, and for that we'll go to the JS file, say change handler. It will receive the event. Every event will have a name, so we'll destructure it. We'll say take out the name from the event and the value using event.target. And what we want is we want to store those key and the value, so we'll create a property here from fields. I'll initialize with the empty object, and what I'll do is I'll say this dot form fields, add the name and the value. So what it will do is, suppose you start typing something in the first name, so the name will be their name will come as first name, and the value I type suppose Nikhil. So how it will form this form field object is, the form field object will become this first name, and the value is, this is the shortcut trick to create the form with a single handler, so you don't need to write the handler again and again. So whenever you type anything in the field, that respective name field will create it inside the object form fields, and it will add the value. If it's already available, it updates that value. So now our form field is ready. Now we have to call the create contact, and the create contact is a method again, and what we're going to do is we'll call our create record method, and this will take the record input. Now we have to define what is record input. So what we can do is we'll say we want record input equal to record input takes API name, so for which object you want to pass. So we are talking about contact object, so we'll import the contact object reference, the contact object, and we have to import it from @Salesforce schema /contact. So contact is my object, we are importing the reference, pass our API name contact object dot object API name. This reference will contain the object API name. Apart from that, we have to pass the fields, and the fields are the fields that we have created here. So it will be this dot form fields. And now once the create record gets called, it will return a promise, and to listen the promise we need a then method. It will return us with the created record ID. So we'll say result. It will send us some result back, and if it and any error occurs, so we will use the catch block here to catch the error, and whenever the error comes, we will just console that error, or we can use the toast message. So let's import the show toast event on the top. Import the show toast event from the Lightning platform show toast event, and we're gonna create a function outside called show toast. It will receive the title, it will receive the message, it will receive the variant, and here we'll call that this dot dispatch event new to toast event. You guys remember we have a lecture full videos on toast, so you can follow that video if you haven't covered that. So here what we are doing is we are creating a toast event. Toast event will take the title, will take the message that you want to show, and then it will take the variant, and the variant is the variant that you pass, and otherwise by default it will be success. So now what we're gonna do is we'll call this toast when the error occurs. So we'll say this dot toast to toast event. We'll say the title as error creating record. We'll say the message as whatever the error will return inside the body dot message, and we'll say the variant as error, so it will show the red color bar. And here we'll pass the same toast on success. We'll say success, and in the message we will pass contact created with ID, and we will convert this into the string interpolation. So we'll use backtick here, and I'll say with ID, and the result will give us the ID. So result dot ID, and we'll say this is a success. If it will not pass, by default it's success only. And once the records gets created, it will show either a success toast or a error toast. Apart from that, what we want is we want to reset our form. For that we can create a class here, create form. What we're gonna do, we'll say this dot template dot query selector, save for form that has a class create form. just call the reset method, so it will reset the form. And apart from that, we want to empty this property that is holding our all value, this dot form field as well. Now our create record is ready. We are calling the create contact on click of a button. It will create the record input. It pass the record input to the create record method, and based on that, if it's success, it will show a green toast, otherwise it's show a red toast, that is error message. So let's go and add the meta file quickly. Say it true, and we're gonna place this into the app page only. Let's deploy this. So it's deployed now, and for this demo I have created the CRUD UI record API page. So CRUD is create, read, update, delete. So going forward, we're gonna look into the function how we can create, update, and delete the records. So let's edit this page and place our component. We can create, update, and delete the records. So let's edit this page and place our component. I'll place into first section, save, and let's go back. Now you can see our form is there, and we'll say first name 0, last name 0, and title developer, is some number, and email is 0@0.com, and let's hit the create contact button, and it immediately throws an error. So there is some error comes. Let's go to the inspect, and let's see the network tab. Once again hit the create contact, and if we go to the response, in the response you can see error on parameter record input. It's showing the message here. Let's go back to our VS Code, and here if I look into the record input, I'm saying API name is contact object, but within the contact object there is a property called object API name. So I need to map that object API name. Let's deploy this. Now it's deployed. Let's go and page again, and here I'll say first name again 0, title dev, phone number 888. I'll say here 0@.com, and let's hit create contact, and now you see it's saying contact created with the ID is coming, and the contact is created, form is resetted properly. Let's go to the contacts now, and now you see the contact has been created 0 hero. If I open this, it will show the same details that we have passed. We passed the phone number 888, email ID 0@hero, and everything is there. Let's go back, and that's how our create record works to create the record. And that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. In this video, we will talk about update record function, and this function we import from Lightning UI record API module. So we use this wire adapter to update a record. We provide the record ID of the record to update the record input. So it's definitely necessary to pass the record ID, then only this function get to know which record he has to update. If we look at the syntax, first we need to import the update record function from the Lightning UI record API. And to this function, we have to pass record input. A record input object is used to update the record. So you need to pass all the necessary things that you want to update in the record, like including record ID. If you change the name field, then you have to pass the name field to the record input object. And the second field is the client options, and that field is an optional field, but this field is used to check for a conflict before you update a record. So let's go to our VS Code and see how update record works. So I am in my VS Code. Let's create a new component. We'll call it as update record demo. So the component has been created. And to understand this update record function, first we need the data. So let's bring in the data to the component. And to bring in the data, we're going to use another adapter that we already discussed, that is get list UI. And we'll get it from the Lightning UI list API module. And this adapter we're going to use with wire @wire. The adapter name and the adapter configuration will come here. And to use the wire, you need to import the wire from the LWC module. And the configuration that we have to pass is the object API name. And the second thing we have to pass is the list view API name. And for this demo, we're going to use the contact record. So list view API name, I can say all contacts. And for API name, I can say contact object. And this object we're going to import. We'll say import contact object from @Salesforce schema / contact object. And now we are importing, and we'll pass this API name contact object. It should not be in the string because we are importing this value. And we are getting the error. We are importing the get list UI from the Lightning UI API. We are passing the API name, and then we need to decide whether to use it as a property or a function. And to do that, we'll create this as a function, not a property. So I'll say the function name list view handler, and it will receive data as well as error. And what we're gonna do, we'll say if data there, then console.log data. If error is there, print console.error. We are passing console.error as error, and if data comes, we are printing the data. And in the HTML, we can quickly create the card. We'll say lightning card update record demo. And here I can say div class SLDS padding around medium. And that's it. Let's go to the meta tag, meta file, and update is exposed to true, and change the targets to app page. So we are placing our component in the app page. So I'll repeat it again. I'll just call the get list UI adapter, import the adapter, call the functionality. It will bring the contact results, and we are printing that contact results in the console. So let's go and deploy this. So now it's deploying, and let's go to the org. I'm in the CRUD UI record API Lightning page. Let's edit the page. And on the left hand side, we can search our component name, update record demo. Let's place it right hand side. Let's hit save. Let's go back. Let's go to console. And let's see what it's giving us the data. It's giving two properties, info and records. Under the records we have a record property, and there we have 21 contact records. And if I open a single record, then you can see it has the fields, account, email ID with the values, account name, owner and all. So let's go and use this to build the data table. So this demo we're gonna use the data table. So let's go back and let's first construct the data, and before that let's include the lightning data table. So if you don't know how the lightning data table works, you can search the lightning data table in the Salesforce. I'll just say lightning data table. I'll go to the lightning data table documentation just for you guys to understand how it works. So I'll go here in the lightning web components. I'll go to lightning. I can search here data table. I'll select data table, and here is the data table option, different types of option that you can use. Data table with the row number, data table with the inline editing, and here I'll just copy paste this lightning data table tag and paste it here. So it takes the key field ID, it takes the data, it takes the column, and in our case we can hide the checkboxes. For that you can add the attribute hide checkbox column, and apart from that we're gonna make this data table editable. So we're gonna add some more attributes. We'll say draft values. We'll create a property draft values here. Then we can add on save that handles once you edit some property in the data table, that on hit of save this method gets called up. So let's see what is everything. Instead of data I'll say contacts. So we'll map these properties now one by one. Okay, so let's go to the JS file, and here I am receiving the data, right? So first we need to do, we'll create a property context because we are using the context as the data. So data that will pass to the lightning data table. So initialize, we can initialize it with the empty array, and we'll say this dot context equal to data dot records dot records, because if you go back to the data that we are printing in the console, there is two records. One is this record and this record. So data dot records dot fields, and if we don't want to use the fields we can ignore that. What we're gonna do is we'll run the loop on the record, so each field will be called, each record will call one by one. So what we'll do, we'll say map item dot map item. So each item is a each record or each contact record, and we'll say return. We need some specific field. We'll go through ID, name, title, phone, email. That's the basic field that we have. And before that what I'm gonna do is I'll create another function, get value. I'll say get value. It will receive the data and the field, and it will return data dot field and the field that you will pass, and this should be fields dot field dot value. Why I'm doing this I'll explain you in a minute. So now if I go to the records, each item is each record, and from the each item I have to go to the fields, and from the field I have to pick up suppose name. So I'll go to name dot value, right? So if I have to write it here, how I'm gonna write it, I'll say name colon item dot fields dot name dot value. Like this I have to write it again for all the fields that I'm gonna use. So instead of this what I can do is I'll just call this dot get value that we have created here, get value. It will receive the data is nothing, it's the whole item, whole object basically, and which field you want to extract, I'll say name, right? So likewise we can extract all the fields and return those fields in the object form. So I'll extract ID, I'll extract name, I'll extract title, phone, email. I'm passing ID, name, email, phone, email, and it will go to the data fields and set the field name, pick the value of name, then title come, pick the title dot value, phone come, phone dot value. Likewise, it returns all the data in the form of array of object of these property and store in the context. So now we got the context. Now we want the columns. So we will create the columns. So columns we always decide hard codedly. So we'll say const, if it is a constant, so we always define above the class. So we'll say constant, I'll say calls, and in this we have to define the columns. So here I'm using ID, name, title, phone, email. So I'll use the same column here as well. So the first thing is the label that you want to show on the screen. So I'll say I want to show on the screen as ID only. Then the field name is the name that you are using in your data. So I'll say field name is ID. Likewise, I'm gonna use it a couple of times. So I'll say I'll copy it 5 times. So second field is the name field. I'll say name, and the field name is name. Then third property is title. I'll use title here and title here. Fourth field is phone. So if we'll not define any type to the column, it means it's a text field. Now phone is not a text field, right? We can define the type as tele. And we want this field to be editable. So I'll say editable true. So if you want the user to update the phone field, you can add the attribute editable true. I'll copy this and paste it, and the last field is email. I want the user to edit the email as well, so I'll say label email, field name email, and type email. I guess for telephone we have the text type only. Let's remove this. Let's keep the type for email only. So now I have a column. I'll create another property here, columns equal to calls, and columns we already using in the HTML file, columns. Now apart from that, we have draft values. So draft values we'll talk about in a minute. So I'll create this draft value property and initialize it with the empty array. And apart from that, we have a handle save. And for handle save, we can create a function or a method. So on the bottom, I'll go and create a method handle save. It will receive an event and we'll store that event. Event, I'll store it as event dot detail, and I'm just consoling it, not even storing it. I'm just consoling it. So let's deploy this. Let's go to a terminal and let's deploy this. And now it's deployed. Till now we haven't talked about anything related to update record. We just learn how we can fetch the data and render the data table. So let's refresh the page. Now you can see that our component is showing the data table. It's showing the same field that we are passing, ID, name. It's showing ID twice. I'll look into this. Then title, phone, and email. If I hover over the each column, so here, here, but as soon as I hover over the phone field, it show a pencil icon. It means it's a editable field, and the email, it means it's a editable field. If I go here, you can see that we have said editable true, editable true. And why it's showing 2 times ID? Because by mistake we add the ID twice. Let's remove this and deploy this again. And meantime, if I click on this pencil icon and I'll update something here, I'll say 1 2 3 4 5 and click outside. See, the yellow color is coming. It means it's the draft value. If I go to the console and clear the console, as soon as you update something, it not update in real time. It's a drafted, it's a temporarily updated value. And if you go down, you will see a save button because you already changed something. And if I hit save, it will give me data that will say which property you have updated basically. Okay, so to see that more clearly, let's go and say json.stringify event.detail, and we can say event.detail.draft value. So these are the draft value that comes when you click on the save, and draft values are the values that you have updated in the inline of the lightning record. So lightning data table. So let's deploy this again. So now it's deployed. Let's go and refresh the page. And I'll clear the console first. I'll update this to again 1 2 3 4, and I'll go down. I'll see the save button, and if I hit save, it immediately tell me the ID is the row ID and the phone is 1234. If I update another field here, I'll say 456, and I'll go and hit save. Now it shows two records are updated, one with row 0 and second one with the row 2. So now we have the draft values. Now we have to update those. So now we are getting the draft values. Now we'll start working on our main agenda, that is update record. So now we know something has been changed, but we have to tell our Salesforce that update this value for these particular records. And for that, what we need to do is we have to import the update record function from the UI record API. And once it's imported, we need to use it. We'll go to our save function and we'll say we already seen the syntax. The syntax is the update record will take the record input and update this record input is a object. So I'll say record input is an object, and to get this object, what we can do is we already getting the draft values. So what we're gonna do, we'll run the map on these draft values. Each value is a draft, and we'll say store this draft into the field, and we are returning the fields here. So what we are trying to do here is, I'll just copy this data that draft is coming. So event.draft values, we already know it looks like this. Each draft is a single object, right? So draft comes here, we'll pass the draft to fields. So basically fields will become like this, and to pass the data we have to map the data in the form of this. Okay, so each record should pass to the update record in this format. That's why we are doing this. So I'll clean it up. So I'm saying pass the draft value to the fields and map the fields as it is. So now the each record is in the form of fields, and the record input will pass to the update record. But we have multiple record inputs because we are updating multiple columns, right? Update record, update only one record at a time. So we need to run the loop on the record input as well. So what we'll do, record inputs, this should be record inputs because now it's multiple. So we'll change it to record inputs dot map, and we'll say each input is record input. Each time one input will picked up and it will pass to the